A Second Chance by Girard. The lights turned on and I woke up. I was in an interrogation room. There was someone sitting in front of me. "You've been charged with murder," he said as he leaned back. "Your entire squad and then yourself. Good thing we were there to save you in time." "What I want to know is how and why," the man said. I smiled. "When you hear my story, I'm sure you'll see it my way," I said. The man nodded, obviously telling me to proceed. I was hovering above the rocky battlefield. I saw the task force getting pummeled. They were running out of ammo, were getting tired, and the enemy, the Russians, were getting closer to the barrier. This task force wasn't what you'd call normal. In fact, they weren't normal at all. But then again, neither was this particular battle. The task force was called USEB, United States Elite Branch. They were the hand-picked soldiers from different branches of the military. I would proudly say that I was in this task force. We each had our different code names. For example, mine was Eagle. There were 5 of us: Brick, Eagle, who was me, Weasel, and Fox. They each were named for a reason. Brick was named what he was because he was probably the strongest. He could kick someone and send him flying. There was also Weasel, who was named what he was because he was the fastest, and, well, he had his ways of avoiding death. Weasel was an escape artist. He would even dislocate his fingers to get out of rope or handcuffs. Of course, there was Fox. Fox was the cleverest. He would always manage to save the task force using his smarts and tactics. Then there was me. As I said earlier, I am Eagle. I don't want to brag, but I was the best sniper. I called my rifle Caesar. I could spot a needle in a haystack from a mile away, much less up close. Now back to my story. I could see the task force getting sloppy. Their form didn't have the spark as it did in the beginning of the battle, almost like someone wasn't there. But then I noticed that Weasel was gone. I saw myself. I was lying on a rock with blood on me. Then I noticed that I wasn't moving. I was dead, with a gunshot to the leg. I clutched my chest, but felt no heartbeat. I saw Brick talking to Fox as he pulled something out of his backpack. Weasel nodded, and Brick came over to my body with 2 objects and opened my shirt. He touched my chest with the objects. I could feel them even though I was way up above the battlefield. I felt a very painful shock. I think it came from those objects. Then another shock, then another. My chest was in terrible pain, but then I felt a pounding. My chest felt like nothing had ever happened. Then I started to fall. But I wasn't falling, I was rushing. I was rushing into my body. My eyes opened. Everything was blinding, even though it was dark out. I saw Brick standing over me as my eyes adjusted. "Get up, soldier," he said as he pulled me up. "Weasel was getting the hostages out from behind enemy lines." I nodded. My leg started to hurt. I ignored it and gingerly put a bandage over it. Brick handed me a .357 Magnum as I limped over to the barrier. I looked over the barrier for a split second and quickly counted the Russians. There were hundreds, maybe thousands. "Where's Caesar?" I said as I shot down 3 Russians. "Your rifle?" asked Brick. "It's over there," he said as he pointed to a rock. I quickly limped over to my rifle. I saw that it was pretty scuffed up, but it would do the job. I yelled over at Brick and Fox, "I'm going to overwatch from atop this ridge." Brick acknowledged what I said with a hard and fast nod. I ran up the rocky hill and took out Caesar. I looked up. It was almost dawn. We didn't have much time till the hostages would be killed. "You can start any time," Brick yelled into the radio. "Sorry, I was distracted," I said as I gunned down 4 Russians. "That's more like it," Brick yelled as he elbowed a Russian and sent him flying. "I'm going to try to scope out Weasel," I said into my radio. I zoomed in and I saw Weasel with the hostages, but he as being but he was being unnecessarily rough with them. "Hey, be careful with them. You're practically yanking their arms off," I said as I started to cover Weasel. "Sorry," he said into the radio. Weasel was almost to the gate. He was only about a mile away. Weasel was barely getting hit, but if it weren't for his finely weaved, extra thick Kevlar vest, he would be toast. He was at the gate and, Wait, you're fighting Russians? The man laughed. We're allied with them. I told you to be completely honest. I laughed and said, the Cold War is far from over. Fine, go on, the man said. I continued. Weasel was at the gate. We didn't have much time. As I covered Brick with Caesar, Weasel made his way to the barrier. The helicopter arrived. Weasel was there. I limped over to the helicopter and Weasel helped me in. I hope we never do anything like that again. You won't, said Weasel, and then he shot me. He shot everyone else as well. And that, detective, is my story, I said. The detective leaned forward. So you didn't shoot yourself? No, I said. Weasel was working for the Russians? Yes, I said. I'll leave you here until tomorrow when you testify. The man said as he left the room. All I had to do now was wait. The next day I stood before the judge. It was close, but I lost. They were walking me to prison, and I thought to myself, at least I have a good story to tell the boys in my cell. The end.